So today we are going to discuss about the poem The Raven written by Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was born on 19th January 1809 in Boston, and his father was David Poe, and he was an Irishman, and his mother name was Elizabeth Arnold Hopkins, and she was an English lady. And David Poe was actually an irresponsible father, and he was a drunkard also. So when Edgar was an infant, his father and mother got separated from each other, and Edgar's mother, she had to earn a living by traveling from city to city, and she started to work as an actress on the stage. So by the end of the year 1811, when she was in Richmond, she fell ill and died. Due to illness, she died. So finally, Edgar was adopted by a rich trader, and his name was John Allen. So once he was adopted by John Allen, Edgar Allen became Edgar became Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, but and when Edgar was 6 years old, the family completely moved to England. Okay, John Allen family completely moved to England, and he was admitted to a local school there. And when he was 15 years old, he fell in love with one of his playmates' mother, and her name was James Tits Stanhope. Okay, and also he has mentioned this lady James Tits Stanhope in one of his poem. The poem name is To Helen. So his playmate mother also died shortly. And when he was 17 years old, he fell in love with Sarah Elmira Royster, and he got engaged to her. So once the engagement got over, he again went to the University of Virginia, and there he took to gambling, and he involved in gambling, and he started to drink there, and he could not completely get rid of both of the things, gambling as well as drinking, and he had spent hardly a year in the university there, and finally he returned back to Richmond. So when he returned back to Richmond, he come to learn that Sarah was going to marry another man. So he was finally got disappointed on hearing this news, and he was not feeling comfortable with the John Allen family also. So he finally decided to move to Boston. Okay, so Boston is very important because in Boston only he published his first book, Tamerlane and Other Poems. This is the first book written by Edgar Allan Poe, Tamerlane and Other Poems. So once he published this book did not receive any attention from audience side also. It's very important, kindly note it. But still, uh, he keep on writing. Okay, and again he published his second book of poem, and the book name is Al Ara, Tamerlane and Minor Poem. This is the title of the book, Al Ara, Tamerlane and Minor Poems. And he also published other poems and other books also. But anyway, he has faced many financial problems, but he never give up his writing. He keep on writing, and the majority of his themes, if we see, it will talk about the gothic horror and sorrow. These are the main themes of Edgar Allan Poe, and his other works include The Bells, The Pit and the Pendulum, Mystery of Mary Robert, The Raven. These are some of the important poems, important works written by Edgar Allan Poe. Finally, he died at the age of 40 on October 7th. Okay, October 7th, he died actually. So coming to the poem The Raven, which we are going to discuss today. This Raven poem, it talks about his beloved, who is known, who is very close to his heart, and she was died. She was not alive now. So once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, merely napping, suddenly there came a tapping as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. This some visitor, I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. So the stanza 1 starts with in a sad mood only actually. The narrator sets a dark and mysterious mood here. It is actually a cold and quiet midnight time, and he was sitting alone, and he is reading strange old books about magic, and he feels very weak, he feels very tired, and he was half asleep. his mind is drifting between dream and reality. So when he was reading the book, suddenly he heard some sound, okay, a soft tapping sound at his door. At first he tries to calm himself. So what he thinks was that it must just be some late night visitor asking to come in. Nothing unusual or frightening. So he convinced himself that some person is standing and some late visitor. Other than that, he feels okay. Okay, he's not getting fear. He's trying to calm himself in the stanza. The stanza 2, if you see, or distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember brought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished tomorrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books a keys of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here for evermore. So here we have to note the terms like rare, radiant, maiden, uh, and Lenore. These are the important terms here. So rare means already we know unusual. Okay, something that is not common or easy to find. So here rare he is telling about the Lenore. Okay. So this stanza describes a sad December night time when the narrator is alone, is feeling very lonely and missing his beloved Lenore, and he watches the dying fire. Okay, there is some fireplace in his home. He was looking at that fire. It has burnt out. Actually, it's not burnt out. He is looking at that place, and which makes ghostly shadows on the floor. So when he is looking at the fireplace, it seems like some ghosts or shadows is there on the floor, and he is hoping the next day will bring some relief from his sadness. Okay, he is waiting for tomorrow, but he can't stop feeling sorrow also, even when he was reading books. Okay, so he was in a completely sad mood, and he was reading the books continuously, and he was looking at the room where he was sitting. And in this stanza, Lenore is described as a special and shining young woman who is now remembered by angels, okay, not by others, but it's forever absent from the narrator's life because she was died, she was no more. The narrator is very sad and alone, and he misses Lenore, who was very special to him, and his sadness is so deep that even books can't comfort him at the time, and Lenore is gone forever, and now she was remembered only by angels. Okay, like that he was explaining about his beloved. The stanza 2. The stanza 3, if we see, and the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, there's some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, this it is and nothing more. So in stanza 3, again he's looking at the room where he was sitting. The soft cracking sound of deep red curtain. There is one curtain in his room, and he was looking at the curtain. The curtain color is red, deep red curtain. When he was looking at the curtain made him to feel both excited, at the same time he was scared in a new way. He was getting scared on looking at the curtain. His heart is beating very fast. He kept telling himself that it was just a visitor coming late, asking to enter his room. Okay, again and again he is listening. He can able to hear the sound. Someone is tapping at the door. So he is trying to convince himself. He is trying to calm himself by saying that some late visitor, okay, is tapping at the door. So this explanation shows how small sounds can make us feel strong emotions. This narrator tries to calm himself by thinking logically, even though he feels very nervous. Okay, so sometimes we also have felt like that, no, right? So he has beautifully compared his sadness. At the same time, he has compared his what to say, um, he's thinking logically. At the same time, he can't able to stop the calm down his heartbeat also in this stanza. In the stanza 4, if we see, presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, said I, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so finally you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. So in this stanza, he is coming actually out, okay, and he is explaining. Just so you follow me. The narrator gains the courage. Okay, he got some courage, and he is going to open the door. He politely asked forgiveness for not answering earlier. He's explaining he was napping. So he just opened the door, and no one was there actually, but he was telling, he was just talking that, please forgive me for not answering earlier, and he is explaining that he was napping, so that he can't able to open the door. And he says the knocking was so soft that he barely heard it. He can't able to hear the sounds which was produced by some visitor. When he opened the door fully, he finds only darkness outside with no one was standing there. Okay, he completely opened the door. So his soul grew stronger. Okay, and he is telling that, sir, said I, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. So he is telling, opening the door and telling, sir or madam, so please forgive me for not opening the door. But because you are napping, because I was napping during the time when you were tapping at my doorstep. Okay, he was telling, but no one was standing outside. So this is about the stanza 4. And stanza 5. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before, but the silence was unbroken and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. So deep into the darkness peering means he was looking carefully into the dark. Long I stood there wondering, fearing. Means he was standing there for a long time outside. He was feeling both curious. He was very excited. At the same time, he feels afraid also. So doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. Means he was unsure and he is imagining some strange dreams that no human had ever dared to imagine. He was imagining something. Silence was unbroken. It means completely the place was quiet. Okay, nothing disturbed the silence. Stillness gave no token, means the calmness did not show any sign or message. Only word they spoken means the only thing he said aloud. So what he said, whispered when he go out was, he whispered Lenore. Okay, wow. That particular term Lenore, again it echoed back. The sound repeated softly like a quiet reply. So he is telling the term Lenore and the term was echoed back to him. So he is just telling that just this and nothing else happened. So no one was there, I think so, again. It was just a thinking. So the narrator looks carefully into the darkness and he was feeling curious and scared and dreaming strange thoughts. Everything is silent and still there. So he softly says Lenore and he hears an echo answers back to him. But beyond that, nothing more happens. So this stanza shows his deep longing and loneliness for Lenore, and he is actually again in a sad mood. Clear? In the stanza 6, if we see, back into the chamber, turning, all my soul within me burning, Soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely, that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. This the wind and nothing more. So in the stanza 6, he has mentioned some terms also. Here we have to see the narrator turned back into his room. Again he goes back into his room, and he is feeling his soul burning with strong emotions. Okay, he is having strong emotions now, and he hears a tapping sound again, louder than before. So now he thinks that surely this tapping is at my window side, not the door side, but window side. Heavy tapping sound he listens. So he decides to find out what it is and solve this mystery. So he tells himself to stay calm, and he says it must just the wind making the sound, nothing more. Okay, wow. And this stanza shows how the narrator feel nervousness is growing on. He tries to explain the mysterious noise logically, but he is still curious and a bit afraid. So though he is afraid, he is still curious to know what sound actually. The repeated tapping increases the tension and mystery in the poem. In the next stanza, open here, I flung the shutter, when with many a flit and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least of obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. So actually, here flung means open forcefully. Meaning for flung is open forcefully, and shutter means cover of a window. Okay, cover of a window or a door. We used to call it a shutter. So this stanza shows the moment the narrator opens his window. Suddenly, a large, majestic raven flies in. The raven bird flies inside his house. And the appearance of raven is described here as stately and dignified. It looks like coming from the saintly days of yore. Saintly days of yore means old respected times. It looks like it comes from some older times. The bird does not show any sign of greeting or respect or does it hesitate? No, it simply come inside with a very proud, noble attitude. Okay, like a lady, like a lord, it come inside, and it is going to sit above the narrator's chamber. It flies above the narrator's chamber door, and finally it lands on a bust of Pallas Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom. We know Greek goddess of wisdom symbolizing the knowledge. So the raven sits there silently in the statue, and it creates a powerful image. Okay, and this stanza marks the start of raven's symbolic presence in the narrator's room. The bird calm but commanding appearance adds something suspense to the poem. So in the stanza 7, who is entering? Raven is going to enter, and it is going to sit in the sculpture of Pallas, bust of Pallas. And in the stanza 8, we are moving forward. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though they crest be shorn and shaven, though I said, all sure, no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore, quoth the raven nevermore. So this stanza describes how the narrator tries to find some comfort in the presence of raven. It's very important. So how he is going to find comfort? By talking to the raven. The ebony bird is nothing but the black raven. The black raven strangely makes the narrator's sad imagination to smile. So, if we see the bird, it is actually looking serious, and it is it is giving a dignified look on its face. So, the narrator notices the bird's appearance, and he is going to mention about its uh, no covered. Okay, it's not covered, even though its feathers on its head is cut short. And if we look at the feather of the bird, it is cut short. Okay, and he then calls it ghastly, grim, and ancient, as if it is a mysterious old creature wandering from dark, mysterious nightly shore. So he thought that this particular bird has come from some mysterious place, and the narrator boldly asked the raven its noble name on the dark night Plutorian shore. So he is questioning the raven whether this particular raven has some noble name on that dark night Plutorian shore. Night Plutorian shore means the underworld, we used to call night's Plutorian shore. So he is asking the raven what is her noble name in the underworld. For this, the raven will answer the reply to him as nevermore. So this is the term repeatedly said by the bird. Kindly note it, nevermore. So this moment reveals the symbolic nature of the raven bird, and the bird is very serious, and it's giving some mysterious appearance there. So in the stanza 9, coming to the next stanza, much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. So here Edgar Allan Poe expresses the surprise. So this stanza expresses the narrator's surprise and wonder that the awkward looking raven can speak so clearly. The raven bird is telling the term nevermore clearly. So the one word answer, it is telling nevermore continuously. To all the questions which was posted by the writer, it was replying only one word answer, that is nevermore. This term nevermore seems strange and doesn't seem to fit the situation also, yet it carries some mysterious weight in the poem. It's very unusual. Okay. The narrator reflects for a living person to have a bird or animal sitting calmly on the bust above his door that speaks only that word nevermore, it's completely different. It will not happen to all, right? The raven will not come to our house. It will not sit. This is the state of mind of the writer. So he got surprised, and he is looking at the bird. So this highlights how strange and supernatural the raven's presence to the writer, and this sets the tone for the haunting message the bird will deliver in the upcoming stanza. Okay, so overall in this stanza particularly shows the narrator marveling at the talking bird, and he is realizing something uncanny is going to happen, and he is feeling the power of the single term nevermore that the raven repeats with such meaning and clarity. This is stanza 9. And in the stanza 10, if you see, but the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour, nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before on the morrow, He will leave me as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Ebony bird, here they have used. Ebony bird means nothing but black bird. Okay. Here he is representing that raven. So the narrator in this stanza is both fascinated and he slightly feel comfortable by the raven presence, which makes his sad thoughts to smile. Okay, the raven looks serious and dignified. So though despite it, the raven shows some rough appearance, the narrator calls the raven not cowardly but grim and ancient, and as if it has come from some mysterious dark place. He was very curious. Okay, the writer was very curious and he asked what the raven noble mean in dark. Already we have seen night plutonium show. Okay, the last census we have seen, right? So overall, this poem, uh, he actually shares his uh, experience with the bird raven, and in this stanza 10 he is telling about the stanza 11, stanza 10 only. The raven sits silently on the bust of Pallas and only speaking the term nevermore again, and the narrator reflects on how he is feeling abandoned just like the bird, which leads him to expect that he will soon be left alone again. So he feels that the next morning surely the bird will go. The bird's single answer will be no, nevermore. This particular word emphasizes a sense of hopelessness and eternal separation from hope. So he thinks that the bird will move the next day, and again he will feel sad because of the absence of the bird. So in the next stanza, if you see, startled at the stillness broken by reply, so aptly spoken, doubtless read I. What it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the ditches of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never more. So in this stanza, the narrator is startled by the raven's sudden reply. So he started to think why the bird is telling only this term, and he thought that this term was learned from some sorrowful previous owner who endured great misfortune. He thought that the raven has come from some old place, and he thought that this term was the term which was said by that bird was learned from some sorrowful previous owner who actually in a state of sadness. So the phrase nevermore is thus linked to a deep persistent sadness, okay, which the raven now seems to embody. So this term also they are comparing to the sadness. The next stanza, but the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling straight, I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of fear, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of fear. So again, he is talking about the bird raven, and he has used some terms also. The raven symbolizes death actually here, and it symbolizes loss and ending grief. Okay, kindly noted. The raven actually symbolizes here death, loss, and unending grief. So this stanza shows how the raven continues to charm and oddly comfort the narrator despite its grim appearance, presence, or appearance. The narrator moves a cushioned chair closer to the raven now, and he is placing himself in front of the bird, the statue, and the door, and trying to understand more about the book. As he sinks into the soft velvet seat, he begins to connect one thought with another, wondering about the meaning behind the raven's term, nevermore. He's wondering why this bird is telling that particular word continuously. So in this stanza, the use of the words like grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, ominous, all these terms create a dark and or sad mood which emphasizes the mysterious and unsettling nature of the raven bird, okay, the black bird. This stanza is going to develop the poem's central theme of the torment of grief that the narrator can't escape. Okay, and he has personified the ominous by the ominous raven sitting silently on the bust of wisdom. So, in simple terms, if you want to understand this stanza, is the narrator tries to calm himself and understand the strange bird, but the bird's dark message of nevermore keeps haunting his thought and pulling him into again sadness and fear. This is the state of mind. Coming to the next stanza, this I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing. To the fowl, whose fiery eyes now burnt into my bosom core, this and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamp light gloated over, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamp light gloated over, she shall press or nevermore. So this stanza describes the narrator sitting comfortably now, deeply thinking and guessing the meaning behind the raven's repeated word nevermore. He is keep on thinking about this particular term. His head rests on a soft velvet cushion, lightly lit up by the lamp. There is one lamp. So as he reflects, he thinks about someone, like we can tell he keep on thinking about his beloved also, Leonard, who once pressed that same velvet violet lining, but sadly she never will again. She is no more, right? So the phrase she shall press or nevermore highlights the permanent loss of Leonard. Okay, so the narrator tries to calm himself and he is linking one thought to another as he wrestles with the raven's mysterious message. Okay, the velvet violet lining actually symbolizes the comfort and the beauty associated with his beloved Lenore. And this stanza shows the narrator slipping deeper into sorrow. Okay, he's again thinking about his beloved Lenore. So the repetition of the term nevermore signals the hopelessness of the narrator's situation actually. So the narrator is sitting and he is thinking quietly about his lover Lenore, beloved Lenore, as well as he is keep on thinking about the term said by Raven nevermore, which reminded him that his beloved is gone forever and she will never return back. In the next stanza, let me see. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wish I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and needed from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, O quaff, this kind of nepheg, and forget this lost Lenore, quaff the Ravern nevermore. So he has used many terms. Method means I thought. Okay, method means I thought. Denser means thicker. Already we know. And he has used the terms perfumed from an unseen censer. It means the air seemed filled with a pleasant smell coming from a hidden incense burner. Okay, but some smell is coming. And he has used some other terms also. Tufted floor means a floor covered with a thick carpet. Okay. And respite means a short period of rest or relief. Okay, a short period of relief. And nephant means it is actually a mythical drug used in ancient times in order to forget our sorrow or suffering. It is actually a drug, mythical drug. And dwarf means to drink deeply. So he has used some different terms here. And coming to the explanation about this particular stanza, the narrator suddenly feels the air grow thick and, sweetly scented, as though some angels are nearby him. Okay, some angels. And the angels from here they are mentioned as seraphim. Okay, angelic beings. Okay. He feels that some angels surrounded him, and angels are bringing relief from his deep sorrow. And he calls himself a wretch and believes God has sent these angels to provide him with respite or rest from pain, through a magical drink called Nefan that can make him forget his lost love. So he's having some magical drink also. At the same time, he thought some angels were sent by God in order to forget about the sadness which he had undergone. And he begs himself to drink this particular Nefan to erase his painful memories. So he's going to drink that drug. However, the raven replies with its usual dark word again and again, nevermore, dashing any hope for relief or forgetting. So, though he tried to come out of the sadness, the raven bird is keep on telling the term nevermore. It disturbs the uh, author Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, so this stanza shows uh, the way in which the writer is going to trying to come out of his grief. He is trying to escape his grief by supernatural means, but the raven is keep on symbolizes the inescapable permanence of his sorrow. Okay, in the next stanza, let's see stanza 14. Prophet said, I think of evil. Prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here assure, desolate it all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, what the raven never bore. So, prophet is actually a person who speaks for God or foretells the future. So, okay, so mostly we know one who foretells the future, we call them as prophet, right? And he has mentioned tossed P here ashore in this stanza means nothing but thrown onto the land. Okay, that is the meaning here. And he has mentioned desolate means lonely or empty, and horror haunted means filled with fear. Okay, so in this stanza, let us see the narrator calls the raven both a prophet. He is praising the raven bird as a prophet as well as a devil figure. Okay, he is calling as a good as well as a bad, and he wonders if it was sent by a tempter. And despite being in this lonely, frightening place, the raven remains fearless. It's not getting fear. The raven bird is not getting fear. And the narrator asks if there is any healing or relief for his deep sorrow and pain caused by the loss of life. He is questioning the raven. He is actually asking the raven if there is any healing for his deep sorrow, or and that was actually caused by the loss of life. And the biblical form of Gilead was used here, and this term was believed to have powerful healing properties in this poem. So the narrator hopes for something to ease his grief. Okay, he is hoping that some healing properties will make him to feel good. But as always, the raven bird answers nevermore to his question, and it is crushing the narrator's hope for comfort. The bird is keep on making him sad. So this stanza shows the narrator's deep struggle between hope and despair, and he is using biblical imagery also here to highlight his painful search for relief from suffering that seems impossible to find. Okay, The next stanza we are going to see. Prophet said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Eden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, but the raven nevermore. So in all the stanzas we can able to see the last term nevermore. So this stanza also shows the narrator is very desperate. He plead to the raven. He's called again the raven as a prophet and also a thing of evil. And he is asking the raven bird to tell him the truth about his lost love, Lenore. And he appeals to the heaven that bends above us and the God they both worship, asking if the distance Eden. Eden means paradise. So in the paradise, if we go to paradise, he is asking the raven bird, he will ever that he can able to again if he can able to get a chance to look at Lenore. And but the bird reply again, nevermore. Okay. So in this stanza actually reveals the narrator deep sadness and his lost hope for reunion with Lenore in the afterlife. But his hope is crushed again when the raven replies nevermore, and this symbolizes that he will never be reunited with his beloved, finalizing the poem's theme of hopeless grief and eternal sorrow. The next stanza, be that word our sign of parting, bird or fine, I strike up starting, get thee back into the tempest and night's plutonian shore, leave no black plume as a token of that light thy soul hath spoken, leave me loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door, take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door, where the raven again nevermore. So this stanza, final stanza, we are going to end up. So this stanza shows the narrator extreme frustration and despair. Okay, he cries out to the raven. He's crying. He's crying and he's asking the bird to leave and return back to the dark stone and to the mysterious underworld. He's asking the bird to go back to the night plutonian shore that is underworld. And he demands the raven to take nothing with it, not even a single black feather, as evidence that it was ever there. He's asking the bird to go back. He wants to be left alone in his loneliness without the burden of the raven's haunting presence. He don't like to be with the bird presence. And the narrator asks if the bird to take its beak away from his heart, symbolizing the deep pain the raven persistent message causes him, and to remove its form from above his door. He is asking the raven bird to go back. But for this also the raven bird replies nevermore, which signifies that the narrator's grief and sorrow will remain forever with him and the bird is not going to take it back. The bird refuses to leave also, and this symbolizes the permanence of loss to the narrator. This stanza actually emphasizes the poem's central theme again, the struggle with grief and the hopelessness that is going to be accompanied by the writer, by the narrator. The narrator cannot the narrator cannot escape his suffering, and the raven replied nevermore. It shows like a constant reminder to the narrator that some pain is going to be remain with him eternally. The last stanza, if you see, and the raven never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamp light over him streaming throws his shadows on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. So the last stanza reveals that the raven never leaves. It stays sitting on the same place, the bust of Pallas statue, the same place it was sitting above the narrator's chamber door. The narrator notices that the raven eyes look like those of a dreaming demon. Okay? The lamplight streaming over the bird throws a shadow on the floor. A dark demon appearance showing. And this shadow actually symbolizes a dark, haunting presence. It is disturbing the narrator's soul actually. The final line, if you see, shall be lifted nevermore, means the narrator feels his soul will never be freed from the shadow of grief and sorrow brought by the blackbird raven. So the poem ends up with this powerful image of eternal mourning and hopelessness, and the raven becomes a symbol of unending grief and despair, and what to say, it is permanently going to cast a shadow over the narrator's soul. The bird presence is a constant reminder of loss, and the narrator is left trapped in this sorrow forever. Okay, the bird is not going back to the underworld. So this is all about the poem The Raven. So coming back to the theme of the poem, so the important themes here are grief, mourning, love and devotion, death and the afterlife. Okay, these are the important themes we have to note here. And the symbols, if you see, one is the raven. Okay, raven is actually a symbol of death, grief and the haunting permanence of sorrow to the narrator. And the raven keep on repeating the term, repeat the word nevermore, which represents the narrator's hopelessness and the eternal nature of his mourning. Okay, it is going to stay back with him, and this is going to bring grief to the narrator. And one more symbol also here we have to note, bust of Pallas. Okay, the statue of Pallas, Athena. Okay, where the bird is sitting. So this particular statue of Pallas Athena, we call it as the goddess of wisdom. Okay, so it is also an important symbol used by Edgar Allan Poe. So that's all about the poem. Thank you.